Have you ever wondered what makes a civilization truly great? Is it towering monuments, sprawling empires, or brilliant inventions? From the pyramids of Egypt to the aqueducts of Rome, history is filled with the dazzling achievements of mighty civilizations. But just as they rose to incredible heights, they also, one by one, crumbled into dust. What happened? And more importantly, what can their stories teach us today? This is the epic tale of the rise and fall of great civilizations, and the timeless lessons they hold for our own world. Let's start our journey in Mesopotamia, the cradle of civilization nestled between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. Here, around 3500 BC, the Sumerians emerged. They were pioneers in every sense of the word. They invented writing cuneiform, allowing them to record laws, trade, and epic poems like Gilgamesh. They built the world's first cities, like Uruk and Ur, complete with massive ziggurats reaching for the heavens. They developed the wheel, the plow, and a complex system of irrigation that turned arid land into a fertile paradise. This agricultural surplus was the engine of their growth. It allowed for specialization. People could become priests, soldiers, artisans, and rulers, creating a complex and vibrant society. Their success was built on innovation, organization, and mastering their environment. But this golden age couldn't last forever. The very irrigation that brought them life slowly poisoned their soil with salt. Internal conflicts between city-states weakened them, making them vulnerable to outside invaders. First the Akkadians, then the Babylonians, and finally the Persians swept in, each building upon the Sumerian foundation. But the original innovators had faded into history. The first lesson is clear. Environmental management is not a modern concern. It's a fundamental pillar of long-term survival. Neglect it, and even the most ingenious society can wither. Now let's sail across the Mediterranean to ancient Egypt, a civilization defined by its stability and endurance. For nearly 3,000 years, the pharaohs ruled over a unified kingdom along the life-giving Nile River. The Nile's predictable annual flood was the secret to their success. It deposited rich, black silt, guaranteeing bountiful harvests year after year. This stability allowed the Egyptians to focus on grand projects. They developed a sophisticated bureaucracy, a hieroglyphic writing system, and made incredible advances in mathematics, medicine, and engineering. Just look at the pyramids of Giza or the temples at Karnak. These are testaments to a society with immense resources, organizational power, and a deep-seated belief in their eternal order. Their culture was powerful, centered around the divine pharaoh and a complex pantheon of gods. This shared belief system was a social glue, binding millions of people together with a common purpose. However, this strength also became a weakness. Their society was highly centralized and rigid. When a series of weak pharaohs came to power or when the Nile's floods became less reliable due to climate shifts, the entire system faltered. They faced repeated invasions from the Hyksos, the Sea Peoples, and later, the Assyrians and Persians. While they often recovered, each blow chipped away at their strength. Finally, the conquest by Alexander the Great and subsequent rule by the Greek Ptolemies, ending with Cleopatra and the Roman annexation, marked the end of independent pharaonic Egypt. The lesson from Egypt is one of balance. Stability is a great asset, but without the ability to adapt to new challenges, political, environmental, or cultural, it can lead to stagnation and eventual collapse. Next, we journey to ancient Rome, the civilization that arguably shaped the Western world more than any other. What started as a small city-state in Italy grew into a colossal empire stretching from Britain to Mesopotamia. Rome's genius was in its pragmatism. They were master engineers, building roads, aqueducts, and cities that stand to this day. They were brilliant lawyers, creating a legal framework that still influences our own. And they were military strategists of the highest order. But their true innovation was assimilation. As they conquered new peoples, they didn't just subjugate them. They often offered them a path to Roman citizenship. They adopted foreign gods, technologies, and ideas, creating a multicultural, interconnected empire. The Pax Romana or Roman peace was an unprecedented era of stability and prosperity across the known world, facilitated by trade and a common culture. So, what went wrong? The empire simply became too big to manage. The term imperial overstretch was practically invented for Rome. The costs of defending thousands of miles of frontier became unsustainable. Political instability became the norm, with emperors being assassinated one after another. Economic troubles, including runaway inflation and reliance on slave labor which stifled innovation, plagued the later empire. Constant civil wars and relentless pressure from Germanic tribes and other barbarian groups on the borders stretched the military to its breaking point. In 476 AD, the last Western Roman emperor was deposed, marking the traditional date for the fall of Rome. The Eastern Roman Empire, or Byzantium, would survive for another 1,000 years, but the western half disintegrated. Rome's lesson is a warning about the perils of unchecked growth. Expansion can bring wealth and power, but without sustainable institutions and a cohesive social fabric, even the mightiest empire can crumble under its own weight. Let's cross the Atlantic now to the Americas and discover the Maya civilization. Flourishing in the tropical lowlands of what is now Guatemala, Belize, and Mexico, the Maya were not a single, unified empire like Rome. They were a network of independent city-states, like Tikal, Calakmul, and Palenque, often competing and warring with each other. Yet they shared a common culture. They were brilliant astronomers and mathematicians, developing a complex calendar more accurate than any in Europe at the time. They created the only fully developed writing system in the pre-Columbian Americas and built breathtaking temple pyramids deep in the jungle. Their cities were bustling centers of art, science, and religion. But around 900 AD, something dramatic happened. In the southern lowlands, the great Maya cities were mysteriously abandoned. People just walked away. The temples fell silent, and the jungle reclaimed the stone plazas. What caused this classic Maya collapse? Scholars believe it was a perfect storm of factors. Decades of intense warfare between city-states drained their resources and manpower. To feed their large populations, they engaged in deforestation and intensive agriculture, which led to soil erosion and environmental degradation. This was then exacerbated by a prolonged period of severe drought, likely linked to regional climate change. With failing crops, dwindling water supplies, and constant warfare, their complex political and religious system, which was based on kings who promised to mediate with the gods for rain and prosperity, lost its legitimacy. The people lost faith and simply left, seeking a better life elsewhere. The Maya didn't disappear, their descendants still live in the region today, but their classical urban civilization collapsed. The Maya offer a stark lesson on the delicate relationship between humanity and the environment and the dangers of internal conflict. A society at war with itself and its ecosystem is a society on the path to ruin. So what are the common threads here? We see a pattern emerge. A civilization rises through innovation, mastering its environment and creating a strong social structure. Whether it's the agricultural surplus of Sumer, the centralized stability of Egypt, the pragmatic expansion of Rome, or the intellectual brilliance of the Maya, a period of growth and prosperity follows. But then challenges appear. Environmental degradation like soil salinization or deforestation. Imperial overstretch where the empire becomes too vast and expensive to defend. Political instability and internal conflict from civil wars to warring city-states. And often, a loss of social cohesion, where people no longer believe in the systems that govern them. These internal weaknesses make them vulnerable. The final blow often comes from the outside invasions or climate change, but the seeds of collapse were already sown within. These are not just dusty stories from the past. They are urgent lessons of the century. Today, our global civilization is more interconnected than ever before. We face our own set of monumental challenges: climate change, resource depletion, political polarization, and economic inequality. Are we managing our global environment sustainably? Is our complex global system becoming too unwieldy to manage effectively? Are we losing the social cohesion needed to tackle our shared problems? The stories of Rome, the Maya, Egypt, and Sumer are not prophecies of doom. They are a call to action. They remind us that civilization is a fragile thing. It requires constant vigilance, adaptation, and a willingness to learn from the mistakes of those who came before us. By understanding why great civilizations fell, we give ourselves a better chance to ensure that ours will endure. The future is not yet written, and the lessons of history can be our guide. Thanks for watching. If you found this journey through history insightful, please like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. See you next time.